Another NIghtelf versus Undead game here today, and we actually have a little bit of a special. We're currently on Conceiled Hills again, and all the way to the top right we have a Starshaped, and he goes up against Grubby, starting down to the bottom left of the map. Some of you might be asking about, whoa, is Grubby not Orc? Yes, indeed he is, but of course for his stream he's playing a lot of different races and jumps through all of those pretty frequently. He's a pretty mean Undead, played a lot of NIghtelf of course as well, so he is pretty much a very sophisticated random player with still Orc as his main race, but we're gonna see how much of a fight he can put up with Undead here in today's game. Now Starshaped, he is the guy who currently in the patch is very much so focusing on other heroes than the Keeper. Not saying that we're not necessarily going to see the Keeper here, but he's the one who's really still trying to get the Demon Hunter out. He played it against Maru in one of the clan matches the other day, and he has a couple of pretty cool styles here. And in this game today, what are we going to see from him? Again, the Demon Hunter, the guy with a blindfold. So we're going, he's a little bit kinky. Demon Hunter maybe be playing roles in the 50 Shades of Grey sequel. Not quite sure, but at least he applied. But that being said, bit of Demon Hunter action here in the game up against the Death Knight. So we talked about this in some of the games in the past. One of the things that you can actually do when you're an Undead player and you don't know what you're up against just yet, you don't skill your first ability with the Demon Hunter because you're just waiting, does my opponent play, with the Death Knight, and then you just double check what your opponent plays. If he plays a Keeper, you go into Coil, but if he goes into a Demon Hunter, then you oftentimes go straight into the Unholy Aura instead, because you just simply say, hey, he's gonna mana burn me into oblivion anyways, might as well just get the benefits from the Unholy Aura on level 1 and then spec into the Coil on level 2 and level 3, but it makes my early game a bit easier. So there's definitely some wiggle room here for Grubby once that he realizes what exactly is going on. Now already knows what's happening here, so he knows already about the Demon Hunter here, and that Acolyte is not going to make it. Sorry, buddy. But at the same time, we're also now seeing the first experience and item dropping into the hands of Starshaped's DH, getting the Ring of Protection here, and Grubby is currently not making any adjustments in that sense. But you can tell up at the icon to the top left that he hasn't actually skilled his level 1 talent yet. So for the exact reason that I pointed out earlier, he's waiting this out a little bit, sees if he really needs that Coil, but if not, then he's very likely to spec into the Aura on level 1. Actually takes the Coil over it and tries to rush the creep spot. Takes the creep spot as quickly as he can to make sure that he gets the item and the experience. And now, of course, another Coil even coming through, making sure that that ghoul is going to get healed before he gets mana burned. So doesn't have the Aura now for quite some time. It's an interesting choice here for sure. We're having Sentry Wards picked as the level, well, the first item that he gets, so a bit of additional division. In the main base, already one crypt, so you would expect at some point the transition to Fiends happen for him. Necropole is upgraded now, and let's see how he's gonna play that. The interesting part for me is that Starshaped actually doesn't even bother attacking him too much. Starshaped is currently just like sitting tight, getting his own Demon Hunter to level 2. We might see him eventually buy some Boots of Speed as well, depending on how much he wants to focus on Harass. And he actually goes into the Tree of Ages too. So we have both of the players teching. It's not really too surprising when you're considering Grubby's race, because as Undead you normally try to get a fast tier 3 like Citadel, and then later on in the game you expand, if at all, if you're not one-basing it. As a NIghtelf, you are a little bit more, you have more variety in the early game. You're a little bit more open to diverse strategies here. You can go for a mass tier 1 push, have a lot of units on the board, and then go for a quick expansion. You can tech, you can even combine the two if you want to play it a bit more greedy. You can get away with quite a lot if you're a NIghtelf player. And in this case, we actually see now the Boots of Speed. So the Demon Hunter is going to be a lot more agile in all of these fights that we're going to see between the two of them. Grubby now using also his scouting item to immediately double check what's happening here. So whenever there's an expansion about to be built by the NIghtelf, he'll know about it. And he also tries to creep the spot away. It's actually interesting because the two of them are basically just creeping each other's gold mine. Both of them thinking they're going to steal it away from their opponent, but as you can tell, it's just an even exchange. That's what it comes down to. Gloves of Haste and the Claws of Attack. Great items to give to your second hero, to the Lich later on. So there's going to be great damage output from the ranged hero. tech into tier 2 is completed for Grubby. And there's a couple of variations of what you can do with this right now. We've seen that from NIghtelf in the past, where he oftentimes goes into an immediate tech into the Black Citadel and then adds the Lich and the Slaughterhouse afterwards. And a few other Undead players that have mixed things up a bit and try to get that Lich out slightly quicker. Grubby goes into the direct tech into tier 3 here. So super fast tech for him. Adds the Slaughterhouse. Next up, we're going to see that Lich very likely to be produced. And once that he has that, what we're going to see is once he reaches tier 3, go into the Orb of Corruption. Super important for you to get that. It's one of the best tools that we have in the arsenal of an Undead player. Here comes the Lich, having as a second hero Alchemist still taken. And a pretty damaged Demon Hunter here, actually. That Demon Hunter has taken quite the beating from the creeps on the map. And Grubby is actually harassing the base, taking down 1-2 Wisps here. Doesn't get the experience for them, but forces the detonate. And that's 120 gold down the drain, 60 each. And even forces, okay, not a TP, but at least a Staff of Teleportation to be used here. Demon Hunter, of course, had to sip the Moonwells quickly because he was already rather low. In the meantime, still no expansion, still the attempt to just go into the 2-base play. And Grubby is easily going to be able to escape here for now because of the Boots of Speed. Alchemist doesn't really have any items at either. But again, scouting tools, both of them, relying heavily on those sentry wards that they placed down earlier to know what's happening here. Grubby is now trying to scout bottom right, but as we said before, they just exchanged the 2 gold mines. And another Wand of Mana Stealing, wow! Sells both, actually, so we're now seeing him with an additional 400 gold. Could have definitely tried and use that. The Alchemist could maybe have used that mana, get a bit more sustain in with the Healing Spray later on. Assume that he went Healing Spray and Acid Bomb, but we still see occasionally Chemical Rage being played, especially if you're trying to put pressure onto a single hero on your opponent's side. That could be pressure against the Death Knight, since Undead armies are so heavily hinging on their Death Knight. Ancient of Laws, 2 of them now being built, no tier 3 tech just yet for Starshaped. And we're seeing Grubby with his Lich and the completed tier 3 tech, or nearly completed, and then we're going to see that Orb as well. So it's a bit of a slower game and a slower build-up that we have in the game right now. Both of them just trying to get decent heroes, and that's what you get occasionally. Especially if the NIghtelf doesn't decide that he wants to be aggressive in the early game and trying to harass his opponent, that's kind of what you see. It's also a result of the choice that we see in heroes for Starshaped, since oftentimes when you're trying to start a game with the Keeper of the Grove, your whole idea is that you want, at least in the mid-game, if you focus on, let's say, Hunters, for example, you're trying to make sure that you control the map and that you force fights around and entangle. But since that isn't really the case here, and with the Unholy Aura, Grubby would always be able to move away with his Undead army. It's much smarter here for the NIghtelf to just say, okay, listen, I'm going to focus a bit on creeping here. I need those hero levels. A high-level Demon Hunter, a high-level Alchemist is going to benefit me in the long run immensely. And at this point, another mana burn here, but already the Demon Hunter taking a bit of a beating. We have a True Shot aura for the Alchemist, which is going to be fantastic, even going for a couple of Forest Troll Berserkers. But now with the Orb of Corruption, Grubby can easily start focusing those heroes. Talking about focusing stuff, we have a Tree of Life being built, and that's something that Grubby would like to focus because he knows about it already, thanks to those sentry wards that we pointed out earlier. But this is definitely going to be where the real battle is going to start. We have a couple of Dryads in the game, one about to go down. Here's the level up for Grubby, level 3 for the Death Knight, a level 2 coil now ready, and already the archers are in trouble here. One rod after the Necromancer is being used for the skeletons. Level up for the Alchemist. He has committed the rage gun, goes straight for those statues, trying to drop the sustain that Grubby has in the army. Dryads are being taken out at the same time, and even the Ancient of War is joining the fight here. The reinforcements for Starshaped are tickling in slowly and steadily to the waypoint on the hero, and are really helping out here. A bit of a defender's advantage at this point in time for Starshaped. Grubby still fighting, even buying an Orgrim Mauler on the mercenary camp here. One fiend after another about to fall, especially the death. The kill against the Demon Hunter. Nicely done here. No town portal on the Demon Hunter. It is on the Alchemist instead, and that guy gets surrounded too. All of a sudden, it's the Lich who's in trouble, though. The Lich about to fall and might even die, and he does just before the TP goes through. Demon Hunter is dead, but so is the Lich. The Alchemist gets out, can now heal himself at the Moonwells, which he does immediately and starts moving over. 31 supply for Starshaped. Grubby at 32 at this point, takes down the Ancient of War, gets a Mud Golem as well, has now Slow as a tool in the arsenal to slow down units on the other side, and starts to focus the expansion, tries to force it down, but Starshaped is already there. And again, with the Chemical Rage moving in immediately, trying to drop the Fiends here. Needs to be really careful with that Alchemist, though. A couple, good dispel here on the Wisp. Down goes the Fiend, level 3, nearly 4 Death Knight. Has nearly enough mana for level 2 Coil, by the way, and that might be a huge problem for the Alchemist if it ever comes into play. 32 supply for Grubby, still focusing on that Tree of Life, and we have a 32 for his opponent. Well, Rejuvenation coming as we have the first Roots of the Claw joining. No Wisps to actually defend the Tree of Life here. Grubby, it looks like he will be able to take it down. Alchemist going in, trying to take a few units on. Here's the level 4. One Ghoul gets the Coil, and the immediate focus again. The Dryads, of course, starting to slow down the ground units from the Undead player. Again, moving them back. Micro coming in now from Starshaped to keep his units alive. One Ghoul biting the dust, the second one falling. Third one being chased by the Alchemist. Might still be able to get it, but now another statue is in play, and that allows Grubby to have a bit more sustain as he also brings his second hero back into play. 2 gloves of haste for him, focusing on the Alchemist now. Nova, Coil, both coming in right away. No Demon Hunter just yet, no Staff of Preservation either, but still with the Chemical Rage boost, the Alchemist able to move out here. Starshaped now down to 33 supply, Grubby on 32. No expansion on either side, but the Demon Hunter is back, and we should see that mana burn coming in soon enough. Getting it right on the Lich, and the Town Portal used by Grubby. The expansion is down, he can't do anything anymore. The units outnumber him, so the Undead player makes the choice to go straight back to base, and at this point will just go and shop again at the store. Gets, first of all, Rod of Necromancy. Has still massive damage output here from the Lich. The Death Knight on level 4, the expansion taken down. So from Grubby's perspective, definitely a good start here. Also, the kill against the Demon Hunter was great for him too. He lost a fair amount of units as well though, and that leaves the Alchemist on level 4. We're having the Demon Hunter on level 4 too. And of course, in the later stages of the game, the Delaria's Flute of Accuracy that he found is another issue for sure. Bit of an attempt apparently to go straight for the Orgalord spot here. Starts to bait it out. Grubby not quite as aggressive with his creep pattern after the skirmish that we saw to the top left. Goes for the smaller camps instead, and has currently found for his Death Knight Ruined Bracers. Great, fantastic item against Undead. Not the best item when you're playing against a Night Elf. Can help you a little bit against certain tools, but it's likely that he's going to sell it in the long run. But already a much more aggressive creep pattern here from Starshaped. Grubby then again is also trying to do the same thing towards the right side now, going for an Orgalord 2. The Wisp just barely scouting it. But let's see what the items are going to go. Ooh, let's look at that. Legion Doomhorn for Grubby. So that's pretty much the shittiest item that you could have gotten here. It's the Death Knight Aura, and of course this one is only level 1, so you can't really do anything with that. That's basically just gold to be sold, whereas we are seeing a Claws of Attack plus 12 for the Demon Hunter. That went into the main base now. Has plus 20 damage with the Orb of Venom that he just bought, and the Staff of Preservation now as well. Base being built here again, another expansion in play, and down to the bottom right, Grubby is doing the exact same thing. Both of them expanding now. Both of them looking to add more experience, and for Grubby that means Gargantuan Sea Turtle towards the bottom right. Moving in here, trying to get the Lich on level 4. Death Knight on 5 would be fantastic, of course. Problem will always be the mana burn that we're seeing from Starshaped. Demon Hunter, the main reason for that. But they're both pretty much in the know of what's going on here. Grubby has double checked with one Ghoul as well. Actually, he even sends it onto the expansion and starts attacking it, just to force some kind of reaction out of Starshaped to send over. And Starshaped, in the meantime, is creeping as well. His Demon Hunter and his Alchemist are both starting to get a bit closer to level 5. Would probably... oh, another nice one. Healing Wards. Healing Wards are always a little bit of a mixed bag, because in general it's a great item, but if your opponent has really good micro, he's going to take them down with a quick attack during the fight anyways. So oftentimes you will see a player using Healing Wards while he's trying to get big creep spot. There are no really big ones left anymore, so that's not going to be a great use for it, but maybe the backline can be receiving a few hit points. Great timing here for the attack at the expansion. Well done by Starshaped. Takes the Acolyte down, forces the cancel on the expansion. Nothing that Grubby can do about that. Very, very well done here. Grubby himself now still creeping. Has a Death Knight, as we said, nearly level 5. Finds Wand of the Wind. Now, Wand of the Wind in general is another great item to have for sure. Problem, of course, is if you go up against an NIghtelf player and he has Abolish Magic, then you can always try and play around that and make sure that you don't get too much value out of it. But just in general, as an interrupt pattern, it's fantastic. You can either use it against units, which of course increases the duration or goes to the full duration, or if you're going, let's say, up against an Undead player, if you can use it to interrupt maybe the coil that would save the second hero, then it's always fantastic as well. Attack onto the expansion again, but the NIghtelf is there. Grubby still trying to take it down, but the fight is already ongoing, taking a lot of hits here. Gets the Tree of Life though. Great play by him, but is he gonna move out? He's trying to snipe a few units before that, but of course the Staff of Preservation comes into play, saves the Druid, and Grubby sacrificing the TP to move away. 50 supply currently for Grubby, staying in the no upkeep zone. We have 50 for Starshaped, so both of them not paying any upkeep. It makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Normally when you're trying to go into low upkeep is when you have an expansion or when you're preparing for a final push in the game. Neither is currently happening here, so both of them are just trying to save some resources. And here's exactly that Healing Ward use that I've been talking about earlier. So you're trying to go for a bit of a bigger creep spot, and you play around that. Pendant of Energy, taken by the Alchemist. Only one Staff of Preservation, by the way, in the inventory here. Still a plus 20 attack damage. We're having the Alchemist now with a fair amount of mana, so he can start spamming that Acid Bomb for sure. An Acid Bomb is an absolute nuisance. Now, first of all, the damage over time is already a bitch, but then you also have at the same time that armor reduction, and it can really take a hero down in the long run. So, pretty good tools here for them. We're having the Death Knight now on 5, the Lich himself on 4.5 with plus 11 damage. Has even a parry after Vitality, which helps a little bit here. More creeping going on as Starshaped is trying to hit level 5 with his heroes too. And I mean, let's face it, both of them are at least going to get it during the next battle. There's even a bit more towards the right side, which he can use as well. So let's see if that works out for him. But yeah, let's see how that's going to be played. Okay, so one down, level 5 Demon Hunter for him. And Grubby trying to access a couple of shop items. Yeah, another Potion of Lesser Invulnerability actually at this point. So gets one over to the Lich, one of the Death Knight, has one of each hero. But this is definitely now the moment when both of them are saying, okay, there's nothing left on the map anymore. We don't have expansions. We need to start thinking about really taking those big fights. And we have even Chimera Roosts now being produced by Starshaped, and he has the resource, and he's starting to go straight into that. Coil Nova onto the Demon Hunter on level 5. Has to be staffed out here with the Staff of Preservation. 59 supply for Starshaped. We're currently having 58 for Grubby. They are dead even in experience. Expansion down at the bottom right. None for Starshaped. So at this point, the Undead player, Grubby, actually in a great spot. Again, the Coil Nova against the Demon Hunter. Needs to move back. Tries to go in for the mana drain over and over, but can't do anything about it. Now Grubby immediately trying to follow this up, but of course we're also seeing again the Rejuvenation being cast by the Druids, and here comes Starshaped. He knows there's an expansion down to the bottom right, and Grubby's just trying to buy himself time. Grubby knows perfectly well, if he buys himself time for the expansion to come into play and for him to get that extra income, then he has a fantastic position, might even cross over into the high upkeep eventually, but he has to stop it. He tries to then choke point. The immediate reaction here with the Wand of the Wind already being used against the heroes. We're having nice micro to save the Augur Mauler for now, but of course Grubby still kiting a bit. Good healing ward in the back as well. Potion of Lesser Invulnerability on the Demon Hunter as he barely survives. So much aggression and focus fire again for Grubby, but now the retreat path is going to be difficult for him as we have the Dryad slowing everything down that they can reach. Another Nova hits home, but Grubby just moving back with the help of the Undead Aura, of the Unholy Aura, trying to also coil those abominations whenever possible. Chimeras coming in and very little tools in the arsenal for Grubby to deal with that. One Abom about to go down, bites the dust here as the next one is being attacked. Grubby on the way to the top left, sees there's no expansion, and TP's out, but not before losing another Abom. Oh, he barely saved it. He barely saved it with the statues. I was sure that that thing would die. Actually thought that at least an acid bomb or something would affect it and take it down eventually, but that's not quite what happened here. So, yeah, that being said, we're currently having Starshaped. Still not with an Alchemist to level 5, by the way. I thought that he already hit that ages ago. It's not the case, though. Alchemist currently on level 4 still. And at the, yeah, Demon Hunter is level 5, but now the expansion is being attacked here. And we are really starting to move straight into a potential last fight towards the bottom right here. Grubby has to defend it right now. This is do or die for Starshaped, and he knows it. Grubby is sitting at 66 supply, 66 for Starshaped again. It's actually insane how both of them, the entire game, have the exact same amount of supply. 3 Acolytes still mining here, and now we're having, once again, Grubby trying to just kite back and forth, forcing a bit of a battle. Again, Chimeras moving in, trying to take down those abominations, and that magic damage does wonders. Web finally been researched, so Grubby has a few more tools in the arsenal with those fiends to try and take the Chimeras down. There's still 2 in the army of Starshaped, and he is trying to take these units down. 1 fiend dies, but Grubby does a fantastic job microing these units back, saving another set of abominations, but it leaves his expansion out for dry, and we have an immediate focus onto the Acolytes, expansion itself being unsummoned, Grubby without that additional income. Towards the top left, still no base for Starshaped either. There's still a little bit gold left in both gold mines, but it means that of course eventually we are going to see the Tree of Eternity walk over. Cannibalize being used. I'm really liking this. More and more players are starting to use Cannibalize with abominations these days, and just trying to make sure that in this case, for example, through all those corpses around the graveyard, they can heal those abominations up a bit faster. But again, mana burn onto the statue. Demon Hunter just an absolute nuisance. One of these things that we've now seen several times. Alchemist has of course hit level 5 through the last skirmish here. Demon Hunter himself with a 1 mana burn after another. The Coil Nova is hitting, and it's hitting hard, but he has always a few druids around with the rejuvenation. So Starshaped is just thinking, let's move in, drain a couple of these statues. If I eat damage, can always heal it up quite easily. Have of course a Staff of Preservation as well that I can use if the shit really hits the fan. But outside of that, he also has a Potion of Lesser Invulnerability as a bit of a panic button if anything would go awry at any point in those little fights here. 78 supply now for Starshaped. On the upgrade side, he doesn't really have anything. Grubby, on the other hand, when we're looking over here, is sitting at 59. He has 1/1 Abominations, is again just coiling away here, taking the Demon Hunter down a notch. But he's definitely in a bit of a holding pattern with his opponent here, and is now attempting to move out with a Lich that hasn't reached level 5 yet, so he can only rely on the level 3 Coil. Doesn't have the Nova on the same level. Moving in again, focus fire here onto that front line. Staff of Preservation used immediately. Roar comes in too, and the Destroyers can try and dispel that as quickly as they can, but it's definitely a boost in damage that Starshaped is going to try and rely upon throughout the team fight. 59 supply for Grubby, poke and prod the entire time, 78 for his opponent. Towards the right side, scouting going on for both players. There is another expansion that actually Starshaped knows about as well. Has a Wisp in the trees. He himself does just now have that Tree of Eternity moving over, so he's trying to get access to another gold mine, but he's definitely shutting down Grubby's attempt to get another haunted gold mine for himself. Grubby, though, still trying to fight here, but he's running out of mana. Mana burn again, gets at least the call through. Demon Hunter is low, moves back, gets the rejuvenation from the Druid of the Claw, and at the front line, another Druid falls, but also the Death Knight is low and has to use the Potion of Lesser Invulnerability. A Starshaped is starting to chase him down, one unit after another. One Abom dead, and the second one, focused fire by the Dryads, is going to die, whereas the other ones are still attempting to have any kind of impact here. Chimera falls, but Grubby is losing his front line. 71 supply for Starshaped, and Grubby at this point down to 47. Once again, the Abom's been slowed by the Dryad Poison, and Starshaped is just attacking, picking units off left and right the entire time. Moves in again. One more coil available for Grubby, but the focus fire is there. Starshaped moves in, tries to slow them down. Still has that Alchemist on 5.5. Good Nova, and a nice hit against the Druid. Really good play here from Grubby, trying to pick individual units off. Gets another Druid of the Claw here. Very well done from him, but his biggest problem, of course, is now that Tree of Life towards the top left, where Grubby is soon going to face another expansion and source of income from his Night Elf opponent. Still the Lich not level 5 though, and that's a big problem here. He needs that bit of experience to give him the level 3 Nova. It's already tough enough going up against an opponent who mana burns your statues and heroes the entire time, but then not even being able to rely onto that high level nuke ability that we see coming in from Undead players is another problem. Gets that Ancient Protector though, and that finally allows him to rely onto a level 3 Nova. Can also attempt, of course, to use that against the opponent's hero here once again. With that being said, we're having Starshaped now, going up against an Undead that has 47 supply. He himself is 20 supply ahead at 67, and he has that additional income. So he's going to be able to rely on a few more items too if he wants to go to the shop. Scroll of Healing might actually even be a good idea at this point in time. Second Staff Evasion would be an asset to him. We're having also really nice hero levels for Starshaped. I mean, if that Demon Hunter at any point hits level 6 and gets Metamorphosis, that would be just insane. So we're currently having still the attempt to go straight for a quick attack at the bottom, but he sees there's no expansion. Grubby has basically given up on this idea. Grubby is really just trying to win it in one big fight, and he has Frost Worms now as well. Gets Frost Worms into play. To have it against the heavy armored frontline consisting completely of Druids of the Claw. And they're heavy armored, so this is a great tool for him to be used, but of course you need to be careful with all of those Dryads coming in with the piercing damage. And Grubby already going straight for the attack here. Starting to move up to the top, going for the Tree of Life, and Starshaped is on the move now. He wants to make sure that this is going to be the last and final fight. And Grubby has to defeat the army. He cannot really hope to play around his opponent with the aura the entire game and try and win this. He has no expansion. He is trying to take the shop out, and that is actually really smart by him, making sure that there is no access to any potions of healing. But with the Night Elf now moving in, he even has to abandon that plan for the time being, and is just trying to kite around. And Starshaped is happy to go in here, get another mana burn off against the statue. Here comes the focus onto the Demon Hunter, but the Moonwells are close and he uses them right away. More slow against the Frostworms. Grubby trying to kite away here. One Druid of the Claw, a little bit far out actually, and might be the first victim of this fight. Gets moved away by Starshaped though, as he's trying to chase Grubby down now. 71 supply for the Night Elf, and Grubby is sitting at 49. Still 30 behind his opponent. Has to rely on the hero power now, but with the Demon Hunter mana burning the Lich and the statues, this is going to be a bit of a struggle. Another base even being built by Starshaped. He really wants to seal the deal now. Wants to put the final nail into the coffin of Grubby's game here. And Grubby is still looking for isolated victims. Moves in, tries to take the Druid down, but the Staff of Preservation is already there. Another big mana burn against the Death Knight. He's not going to be able to coil any of these units anytime soon, and that Frostworm is, of course, an immediate priority target for Starshaped. Trying to take it down here. The focus on the Demon Hunter again, but it's very unlikely to do too much. Here come the Chimeras right now, trying to take down those statues. The Lich surrounded, and even with the Potion of Lesser Invulnerability, this is a huge problem. This might actually just be it for Grubby. Down go the units, he passes over the town portal. The Lich barely survives, but is able to move out, and Grubby now down to 49 supply. Lacking the items to really have an impact here. Starshaped at 64. Grubby was able to snipe at least a few units throughout these past few fights, but now the expansion on the right side is completed. The gold mine to the top left is continuing to give another stream of income to the Night Elf player, and we're seeing Dark Terror, the Demon Hunter, going in for another quick mana burn, taking those statues down, and here comes Starshaped. Grubby can't attack those magic immune Dryads with anything. Demon Hunter in again, takes the statue down, Pork and Pro the entire time. Another quick Staff of Preservation being used as we see Grubby desperately attempting to take the Demon Hunter down, and Starshaped just plays a long game here. He knows time is working in his favor, uses the Demon Hunter with the Staff of Teleportation to go back in, and Grubby just yields the battlefield. GG taps out as Starshaped takes the game and is victorious on Concealed Hills.